Hi, welcome everybody to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. I'm your host, Alan Ulrich, here with Sean Williams. Bob Rose has the week off, actually, because he's celebrating his 1 year wedding anniversary. I can't believe it's been a
God, is it been a year already?
it has been a year already. I'm sure Lauren is saying the same thing. God, it's been a year already. uh, um, so we're a week into training camp. We've had a lot of Saints news now. Why is this thing giving me a hard time? There we go. Always gives me a hard time. I'm trying to get in the habit of playing stuff in the background while we do the show. Saints footage and stuff, just to see people paying attention. And I always start it before the show gets going, and I pause it when I start the show, so it cues up, so you're not seeing something just running back there. You actually kind of make out what this is. But like this, the 1988 highlight film. But anyway, every time I pause it, it freaks out and doesn't want to start again. So um, that said, Saints news, plenty of Saint news now because they're 6 days into camp. They've had two padded practices, but the big thing, two things I want to talk about tonight to begin with. Number one, um, the news came out today that Sean Payton and the Miami Dolphins owner got suspended, and the league is forfeiting, making the Dolphins forfeit their first round pick and third round pick for tampering, because when Peyton announced his retirement and Tom Brady announced his retirement, the Dolphins reached out to both of them to try and really put this deal together where Tom Brady would come back, Sean Payton would coach him, but Tom Brady would kind of be like a player coach kind of thing. And that was going to be this team, which is insane because they just hired that coach. Um, but this was the idea, I guess, Steven Richardson had to get asses in the seat or whatever.
Loss.
And you know, the problem was he never bothered to find out what the contracts were on both these players. Even though they were retired, they're both Peyton and Brady were under contract with their respective organizations. So you had to get permission from the Saints and Tampa to do this. And of course, we saw it didn't happen. So, hey, John, um, the a lot of Saints fans are like, yeah, they should give the Saints these first round picks. They should give the Saints these picks for this. Doesn't work that way, guys. You just lose.
Nah,
You just lose them.
they
Uh,
fined they fined Ross too, but I mean,
yeah,
for the owner of a NFL franchise, that's just a drop in the bucket.
it's no different than what we did to Robert Kraft, with the Patriots too. Which leads to the second thing I wanted to talk about. So that kind of gives you an idea. Now people are saying Sean lied, that he really does just didn't want to coach the Saints anymore, but he still wants to coach. I don't see it this way. I really see it as he was kind of burnt out. He felt burnt out last year. Actually, I think he's felt burnt out since 2018, because of the no call. And I think the result in 2019, when he successfully lobbied to get pass interference reviewable, and the officials basically sabotaged that by saying, "Oh yeah, we're not going to reverse any of them, no matter what." And by doing that, um, um, you know, I think he just lost all because he started withdrawing from a lot of the committees and things like that. I think he just really lost that drive for a little while. So I think he's looking at TV as an opportunity to still enjoy the game, but get away from the bullshit, essentially. And I think he likes that TV enough. he is going to stay in TV, but a lot of fans are counting on um, that Peyton comes back next year to get those first round picks that they think they can get for him because he's still in a contract through next year.
Personally, I don't want to see him coach anymore.
I don't really either. Even
just because of
higher draft picks for him.
Just because of what he meant to this team and this organization for so long, and and everything that he was able to accomplish with the Saints.
Absolutely.
But, I would not begrudge him giving it another, unless the only way that it would really, for lack of a better word, bother me would be if he stayed in the South.
Oh,
being NFC South.
I don't think he's going to do that. I can see. I've said this from the get-go. If he goes back, he's going back to an AFC team. I still think the Chargers are higher on his wish list, especially if the Chargers underachieve this year. I can see that. I don't see him going to Dallas. I see the Giants as a possibility.
Yeah, go back where he started.
Yeah, connections to the Maurer family and back, you're right, back where he started. But I really don't see him. I definitely don't see him going to Tampa or Atlanta or Carolina. It's just that's not what he wants. I think he really does embrace this franchise and the fans in New Orleans. That'd be tough for him to come and play his old team in front of the fans twice a year. I think he'd rather have to deal with that once every 4 years, maybe. If the Saints are hosting an AFC team, I just think that's what he would if he comes back. But right now, my gut feeling is he's not coming back. So, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that you discovering us, and of course, St. John Butler, great web YouTube page. I wanted to save this, but I did want to point this out because there's something else I want to talk about before this, but I do want to point this out. Jari Evans has come back as a consultant along with Zach Streif, who is on the coaching staff last year, and Doug Marrone, who coached both Streif and Evans when he was with the Saints back in 2006, I think through 2009. He maybe 2008. I think he may have left to become a coach 2008. So I think you really are going to see a much better offensive lineman. In fact, I don't know how true this is. This is not a reliable source that said this, but they said that Cesar Ruiz is having a great camp. I don't know. All I've seen for the past couple of days since they've been in pads is Trevor Penning fighting. So we
knew that was coming.
Well, that's what led to this topic. Everybody wants some. Aside from the Van Halen song, he seems to not discriminate. He fought JT Gray. He fought some backup, fourth string defensive end. He's fought a backup cornerback. I mean, he'll get anybody. And who wants some? So yeah.
I heard on the radio the other day that the Falcons had to close down their practice because of everybody fighting.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's hot. You got a lot of guys fighting for jobs. Rookies get hazed anyway. So I expect, Brady Smith used to get in fights all the time with the Saints. He get in fights with the opposing team too. That was like a training camp tradition. I can remember Kyle Curley getting pissed off and shoving people and stuff like that. But they've got these bubble wrap helmets. Have you seen this? These helmets
Yeah.
these guys have on. It looks like somebody took a helmet and inverted it. Because remember that when you used to take your helmet off, you look and you got the square padding all over the place. I think that was the Riddell, maybe the bike helmets were the first ones that had the square padding in it. But yeah, they
Bike.
had a little bike, yeah, it had the little square padding in it and stuff like that. But now that's kind of wrapping the whole outside of their head to try and reduce concussions and stuff. So, people fighting. I did not see Josh Allen get into a fight. That's hilarious. You don't see quarterbacks getting into fist fights, but to me, it's going to happen. You got guys competing. They're trying to make an impression on the coaches. So
there's a lot of testosterone out there.
Yeah, well, I think Penning wants to show he belongs out there. So he's going to play, as Greg Williams used to say, play to the echo of the whistle, and he's going to do some unnecessary things because he can in training camp. Now, if we get to the preseason and he's doing his bullshit out there and he's getting flagged, then we got some issues. But I think right now we've only had 2 padded practices. Some people are upset on Saints Twitter about this. I'm just like, it's because for so long we've had kind of a quiet training camp where guys didn't get too many fights. We're not used to this. Plus, that was his reputation coming in from college. So, oh, that's true. I forgot. Josh Allen, the pass rusher, and Josh Allen, the quarterback. So, yeah.
It was Josh Allen, the quarterback.
Yeah, it was Josh Allen. Because, I remember the meme that was going around. Josh Allen got picked off by Josh Allen, So, yes, I do remember that. That's hilarious that the quarterback got in that fight. You know who I could see get into a fight, honestly, although he's a Mormon? I could see Taysom Hill get into a fight because I've seen some players get pissed at him. When he comes up smiling after he just clocked somebody or he just ran over a defensive back, whatever. He gets up smiling and, they don't like that shit. A quarterback just did that. So it's I can see that happen, but he's a Mormon, so he's not going to get into a fight.
I don't know.
Well,
McMahon was a Mormon.
Yeah. I think McMahon was a Mormon only because they gave him a scholarship. He was a Mormon like Bluto from Animal House was a Mormon. I mean, just no. Steve Young, I believe.
Steve Young is a direct descendant of the founder of the Mormon Church.
Of Brigham Young, yes.
Which is even more of a reason for me to hate him.
Well, I was going to throw in some other names too. I think Ty Detmer came from there too.
Yep.
Ty Detmer was, clearly a upstanding, straight-laced guy. I could see Danny Werfel being a Mormon, although he wasn't. I could see him going to BYU. I did not see this. Of course, I was in ISO audits all day today, so I really don't know. Have either of us ever gone to practice?
No.
We're talking about practice. No, I have. I have gone to practice before on the weekends. I work for a living, man. I have gone out there before. In fact, the first practice I ever went to, here John's going to love this, was in 1998. I went to one in 98 where it was a mini camp and they had tours of the Saints' new facility. So I think that was the first one I ever went to. And then I went to one in 1999 with Billy, and I talked to Billy Joe Hobart.
That's time you'll never get back.
Yeah, well, he was actually trying to be nice. I don't hate on him as much as I probably should, only because he had kind of a biker mentality back then. He was a little wild. I understand he's discovered Jesus and he's now straight laced, but back then he was a little wild. But Billy Joe Hobart was actually trying to bond with the fans. He would stay. He was one of the last ones there. He would talk to everybody, and like sign anything that you put in front of him. Now there was maybe 50 people there, so it was more than actually it was more than that. It was because Ricky Williams was out there, and it was the Ricky Williams hype train was going on, so a lot of people wanted to watch Ricky. Um, but that was the first ones I went to. But I've gone to some of the other ones that Peyton has since opened. Matthew, my son, here we go. I was at that practice. It's practice is not much fun to watch. It's hot, although they've gotten a lot better with the shading. You're sitting on metal bleachers in 90-degree temperature at 9 o'clock in the morning until noon. I mean, it's miserable. Um,
I've been in New Orleans in August. No, thank you.
it, you have to know what you're looking for because what everybody wants to see is a 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 drills. The rest of the practice isn't much fun to watch. You get to watch, who wants to watch Will Lutz kick field goals for like 20, 25 minutes? Because he's doing that. Now he's doing that in another part of the field. It's spread out all over the place. You got some linemen running some drills, you got some DBs versus receiver drills going on, that kind of stuff. There's a bunch of different activities going on at once. So, and then now Peyton allows music. So, you got a lot of music out there playing, but, it's very structured. Horn blows, they're running to the next drill, whatever it is. They know what they're doing out there. But, yeah. So, like I said, my son and my daughter have gone several times. He and I went a couple times, but it's not a big thing. Okay, so Ryan wants to know since he's a new one. Sean, where are you from? Where you hailing from?
Monroe, Louisiana.
Yep, he's a North Louisiana guy. I'm in the suburbs of New Orleans, so yeah, I am literally about 20 minutes away from the Saints practice facility. It doesn't take me any time at all to get there, so I can go there anytime. In fact, I pass by there a lot, but it's yes, I know. I was only went once in 2017. I got the pictures y'all took from there, but it's but it's tough. You got to get there early. They have tickets. They're free, but they have tickets now, so they know exactly how many people are coming, and it's so much harder to get autographs. Because I tried to get an autograph one time, and you were getting swamped by people shoving anything. You got a dozen white footballs going in your face, everything like that, and they're going to shove you. They're going to shove and get the stuff in the players' faces. So it's just, I just don't enjoy sitting outside of practice. I did go to one practice in the Superdome one time. That was a rare treat. That was they were doing a practice in the dome. Peyton used to do this before the first home preseason game. So these guys knew what it was going to be like sitting in the Superdome because the Superdome is actually pretty damn intimidating when you're on the field. Here we go. Been there. Here's another one for you, John. I've been in the Superdome on the Superdome field, on the football field, standing like out there and looking around, and it's something. If you stand out there, say the 40 or 50-yard line, and you just start looking at the empty. Now the stadium's empty. Just imagine, 60, 70, 80,000 people screaming, cheering and stuff like that, and you just start looking around, that would distract the hell out of you. I mean, it really would. It takes a lot of focus to catch that stuff. So yeah, that was a long, long time ago. I did that. I mean, we're talking the 80s. I got to do that. Where I could walk out on the field. That shit, they don't let you do that kind of shit anymore. There's no access when you go down a door. Open the door up and go step out on the field. They let you do that shit because that was a high school jamborees were used to get played in the Dome, so they don't let you do anything.
I've been under the Superdome.
Oh, I've been too. For what? In the parking garage? You talking about? Or where?
No, not that far down. When I went to WrestleMania, funny story.
Mm-hmm.
My sister and I went. When it's over, we stand outside chit-chatting with people for a little while. We go to the multi-level parking garage across the street, and she starts going, I don't have my keys. I had to walk back to the Dome, go all the way around it until I found someone to let me in, go back to where our seats were, find her keys, and then he took me on a service elevator down underneath and let me out over on the street between the Dome and Smoothie King.
That's interesting. I look a little different, Donald, because I just got back from Destin, Florida, literally yesterday. So that's still got a little sunburn here and over here too. I had a hat and sunglasses on, so I got, the Robin mask, for my sunglasses. But this here and this here, that's where, clearly I did not put enough sunscreen on. So anyway, yeah, I don't even know if they sell tickets for the Dome practice. Maybe they do, or maybe they don't. But yeah, and then of course I've been in the Dome for other events, like you were talking about WrestleMania, for being on the floor, concerts. I've sat on the floor before. Endemic Extravaganza, I've been a couple times, and that's on the floor of the Dome. But it looks very different when those kind of things are in place, because you got to see that the seats have been moved around, and you're out there in this, Home and Garden show went, last year, went earlier this year, this spring, Home and Garden show. But half of it's marked off and blocked off, so it doesn't feel like you're walking out there. You have to kind of look up to try and get your bearings to see where you are in relative position to the field. So, but I went to basketball games in the Dome when the Jazz was playing a long, long time ago. That was interesting.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, but and that's because the Dome was built as a multi-purpose stadium, so there used to be baseball there. They used to have the Winn-Dixie Classic, where college teams would play there. In fact, New Orleans had a minor league baseball team briefly in the late '70s. I think they were called the Buccaneers too. I think they've brought the Buccaneers and Pelicans name back so many times, it's hard for me to remember, because there was a Pelicans baseball team that was at the corner of Carrollton and Tulane, where the Fontainebleau Hotel is now. There used to be a baseball stadium, Pelican Stadium, and shut down in the 50s, which is before my time. That's like when my dad was a kid. Yeah, and then they had an ABA team at one time called the Buccaneers in New Orleans, before they got the Jazz. And then when the Superdome first opened, they tried to bring baseball too, because that was the whole thing. They're gonna have baseball, they're gonna have basketball, they're gonna have football. So, yeah, it's something. I did not, because I was in Lafayette at the time, New Orleans Brass hockey game. They used to be played in the Municipal Auditorium. I did go to an Ice Skaters game. There was the Brass, there was the Kingfish in Baton Rouge, and there was the Ice Skaters. I went to the Ice Skaters, and I don't know shit about hockey, so I had no idea what the hell was going on.
Yeah, we used to have a semi-pro team here in Monroe, and I went to a couple of their games, and it was like Captain Newgate look. I'm just sitting there going, okay, the only thing I know is they're trying to knock that little piece of rubber into that net.
That, and I knew that power play meant that you're outnumbered. They've got only X amount of guys. They have one fewer guy than you. It's your power play, so that's all I know. Now, if I was in Canada, that'd be a different story. Monroe Moccasins.
Yep, Monroe Moccasins, and they had a rival.
Y'all had a CFL team for a little while. Y'all had in Shreveport. You had in the Independence Bowl, there was a Shreveport team. Billy Joe Tolliver was even the quarterback, I think, at that time.
I believe you're right.
Yeah.
There was in the same league as the Moccasins was a team from Shreveport named the Mudbugs.
Yeah.
They were one of the best teams in the league.
So, yeah, the CFL tried to expand to the United States. And the only thing I remember about that attempted expansion, aside from the Shreveport team in the Liberty Bowl, is they tried to – Baltimore got a CFL team, and they called themselves the Baltimore CFL Colts. Their colors were blue and white. They played at Memorial Stadium, had the Colts on it, had the old Baltimore Colts logo, sort of, and the NFL lost their friggin' minds. They had I think they even had the horseshoe, but it was inside the Colts name, they were trying to, and the NFL lost their mind. They said, you can't do this. You're violating. They were like, no, it's the Baltimore CFL Colts. They're not the Baltimore Colts, and yeah, that was entertaining.
We actually had an indoor football team here too. And would you like to know who the player coach was?
Was that John Forcade's team?
John Forcade.
Yeah. I thought that was John Forcade's team. Yeah, they tried everything. I took Matthew and Hughes Little to old voodoo games, New Orleans voodoo games. That was AFL League, the Arena Football League. That was actually fun. And after the game, you could go down on the field and they don't sign autographs. We go walk around that field and everything else like that. It was really good when we first saw them. When they first started, it wasn't so good later on. That was like their peak when they had Aaron Bailey was the NFL receiver they had, and Andy Kelly, I think, was the quarterback. So I still got a autographed football around here somewhere. These guys.
There were some guys that were on that arena team here that I actually played against in high school. That's how long that's been.
I was kind of surprised. I was disappointed when that team folded because it was a lot of fun to watch. They didn't win a lot after Aaron Bailey was gone because they were good. And they kind of went on hiatus, and then Tom Benson bought them, and then they weren't that good. And then the league was on its last legs. Benson shut the team down, and then the league folded not long after that. So
John Bon Jovi owned a team too, Philadelphia Soul.
Philadelphia Soul. Yeah.
Marcus Colston was part owner of one.
Yeah, I don't, I think they did. I think they did. So. Donald, I promise you I'm going to get to it in a second. It just kind of, we've already gone off on that tangent because we've got a new viewer, Ryan, and he's out there asking some questions, which I don't mind answering. But yeah, we kind of went off that tangent for a little bit. Yeah, but it was fun. Those alternatives were a lot of fun. So Sean, okay, we're into the first week of training camp. That's in the books. Hall of Fame game, I think, is this weekend. In fact,
Thursday night.
Yeah. So, and I think the inductions and stuff like that happen this weekend, which I don't like that. I really enjoyed the inductions before the game because I enjoyed watching the speeches and things like that. But
I did too.
So far, we've had a few stars of training camp. Paulson Adebo appears to be a shutdown corner. He is having a fantastic camp. But, Taylor, the second round pick, he is having a good camp. And Bradley Roby is having a good camp. So you're really seeing a lot of depth show up in these corners. The only thing that's kind of been a downer as far as the secondary is concerned is, Tyrann Mathieu has not reported the camp. He is on an excused absence, and the team is very tight-lipped about this. They just said it's a personal matter, it's a family matter, and that whenever he's ready to come back, the Saints will welcome him back with open arms.
Yeah. And I also saw today where we're going to be a wide receiver short for half the season.
Yeah, but he's no, Ryan, it's fine. It really is. I appreciate all the questions and comments because sometimes we're honestly scrambling for material. So you're good. Wait till Bob Rose is back next week. You really can hammer him with some questions. Um, but yeah, it's the thing that's concerning to me, and Ralph Marlboro threw this out on Twitter, I think, just to fart in a crowd and walk away and let everybody else smell it. He just basically said, that supposedly he deleted all his Saint stuff off his Instagram page, which, Kyler Murray did that with Arizona, and here he goes and signs a big contract. You know, um, do you think there's any chance that Tyrann Mathieu doesn't play this year? That whatever's going on in his life maybe is so dramatic that he decides to either take a break or retire?
I don't know. It's hard without knowing more of the details or surrounding this situation. It's really hard for me to take a guess one way or the other.
I think if if let let's just play the hypothetical. Let's say I don't even know if he's married because that's how little I know about Tyrann Mathieu. But let's just say Tyrann Mathieu is married and his wife has been diagnosed with cancer. And I'm just throwing this out here. I'm not saying this is what's going on. But let's just say his wife has cancer and it's pretty serious, like stage 3 or 4. Okay.
No, in a situation like that, I could certainly see him stepping
Right.
away.
And what that's where I'm going with this. And she's got some intense chemotherapy to go to. I can see this being a reason. You know what? I got to take a break from football for a little while because it's that serious. I don't know what's going to happen. My wife may die, and I need to spend every last moment with her and not out here on a football field. That is totally understandable. Okay.
Absolutely.
So when people get really, and it kind of bothers me when they really like, tell us what's going on. You know what? It's really not your business. And if it's something like that, think it could be something like that, something that personal, that dramatic, that if he walks away, you got to realize some things are more important than football. And that's the only reason why I even brought up that scenario.
Yeah.
Um, I that's why I said I don't think he's going to retire, but if he were to step away, it's going to be for something that serious. I don't think it's money. I don't think it's anything else. I think it's something, it's something family. So, and we'll know when he feels like telling somebody and when he feels like making a decision. Yeah, yeah, I do remember that. Thanks for reminding me. Um, yeah, and that's why I said I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just saying I could see it being something that emotional that he feels he has to stay away. Because what player was it for the Pelicans that his wife was going through some issues and he
I think
stepped.
it was the coach, wasn't it?
I don't think it was a coach. I think it was a player, but it was a veteran player. My son will remember. I don't remember who it was, but that's one of the things. But anyway, so in the meantime, your favorite player, PJ Williams, has been filling in a lot at looks like free safety, and then they've had Marcus May, and they've had some other players rotate in at strong safety. So I mean, I think these are good that he's getting these reps at safety. I think it's important that we have to consider that Marcus May will be suspended at least 3 games. I
Yep.
don't know when that's going to happen. Um, yes, Drew Holiday. Thank you. I knew somebody would remember. Drew Holiday was the one whose wife was really hurt. What sucks, I agree with you. Um, People, they just want to see their magical team. That's what they really want. They want to see their dream team out there. They want the Saints to drop 40 points on every opponent every week. Doesn't matter how good our defense is. They want to see Jameis Winston throw 5 touchdown passes on our secondary, shut out everybody every week. I mean, it really is. And Jameis not only throw 5 touchdown passes, but throw 500 yards in the process because they want all the Saints players to be on top of everybody's fantasy league. That's
That's not reality based.
I know it's not, and I've been in arguments with people on Twitter about that too. That um, especially on Twitter, yes. Um, I've told people, I said I think fantasy football has ruined football for a lot of people because I said, 3 of Drew Brees' 5,000-yard seasons were 7-9 seasons, losing seasons. That he was, one of those years, he had to throw 40 times in a game, or 35 times in a game, and was racking up a ton of yards because the defense couldn't stop anybody. And it was in 2012, for example. He's playing his ass off. The defense can't stop anybody. So yeah, he's got 5,000 yards. We went 7-9. We didn't make the playoffs. So if Jameis only throws for 3,800 yards or maybe 4,000 yards, but we still win.
Take the win and shut up.
Yeah, take it. I'll take a 9-0 win. It's not a fun game to watch. I admit it, unless you really enjoy a defensive game. But we have to. I want a good running game. I want a great defense. I want great special teams. I want to see us return pick sixes and that be some of the scoring.
I just want us to win.
Yeah,
I don't care how we do it.
Right. That's more enjoyable than Jameis Winston being at the top or being MVP, having the MVP talk around him. And it's not because I don't like Jameis. It's we need a well-rounded team. Some of the footage I'm showing up here right now in these highlights, I think this is still 2011. But in 2008, Brees is just 16, one of his 5,000-yard seasons. He's 16 yards away from breaking Dan Marino's record in 2008. But they finished 7-9. They blew a lot of games because defense couldn't stop anybody. It just
historically bad defenses.
Yeah, that's what gets frustrating to me. That Drew Brees throws 4 touchdown passes, 300-something yards, and we still lose. 2016 wasn't a 5,000-yard season. Yes, I do remember this too. Thank you, Chad. Yes, that was the one you're talking about, Coach Money.
Yes.
Well, I was going to say 2016. Brees had his last 5,000-yard season. Michael Thomas, Brandon Cooks both caught over 1,000 yards. Caught pass for over 1,000 yards.
And Willie Snead almost did.
Willie Snead was about 75 yards short of breaking the 1,000-yard barrier. Mark Ingram rushed for over 1,000 yards. Saints went 7-9. What the hell? You know who the last team that had all those things? Denver Broncos. Where did Denver Broncos go when they did all that? Denver Broncos were in the Super Bowl against Seattle. They waited to against Seattle to shit the bed, but just having a competent defense would have been enough for that game. Hell, that 2011 team up there that's on this highlight film, if our defense just picks off Alex Smith at the end of the 49ers game, we win a second Super Bowl. I'm old enough to remember when the fans used to get pissed off and call Brees pad statting. Stat padding about his all his yardage and stuff like that because they're like, we're still losing. So yeah, I get it. You want to see Jameis when you want to rub it in Tampa's face that you gave up on a guy and look what he did with us. But at the same time, you don't have to be this guy. You don't have to be Superman. Just go out there and there's multiple ways to win.
Yeah.
Um, Calvin. Calvin wants the 86 Giants or the 85 Bears. Uh, anyway, going back, speaking of Jameis, and Jameis did have a really good day today. He threw a really pretty down the middle seam pass to Deontay Hardy for a touchdown. He had a good day. He's had some good, bad days, kind of like how he had last year in camp. Um, Michael Thomas has looked very good in camp. Looked right back like he hadn't missed any time at all. He's had some veteran day offs. That's an old tradition that Peyton started, where veteran players get time off. Ryan Ramczyk hasn't been participating in very many drills, except for I think the 11 on 11 drills. They've been working Landon Young in there a lot. So yeah, um, that's yeah, that's all I'm asking. So yeah, the Ravens. Yeah, play the Ravens. Win, except we have a better quarterback. Did I say that out loud? I should say it out loud. I mean, we don't have a running. We don't have uh, the Black Taysom Hill playing for us. That's really getting pissed off. You want to piss off Raven fans? Call Lamar Jackson a Black Taysom Hill. Really watch him get mad. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways to win a game. It doesn't. I just feel like it's fantasy football people who
And
just
at the end of the day, isn't that the whole point of all of this? Is
it
to
is
win.
it
The
is
only way that you make it to the playoffs is by winning games. The only way that you make it to a Super Bowl is by winning games.
I think people just get sick of hearing about like how fun that 2011 team was to watch. I get that. And they get tired. They want to eclipse or at least set the stage that okay, we had Breeze for 15 years. Okay, he's gone. We pick up Jameis Winston. We do them. They think they want to see a Montana to Young situation, or more likely a Favre to Rogers situation as far as longevity of consistent winning. I mean, because as unbelievable it, as it may be to anybody that was born after 1992, there was a long time from 1970 to 1992 where the Packers were pretty bad. Most of
Really bad.
yes. Pete Axhelm, who was kind of the Jimmy the Greek of NBC Sports, then he went to ESPN. When he was at ESPN, he used to call the Tampa Bay Green Bay game the Bay of Pigs because it was so bad. And it was always a terrible game because you had, Tampa, of course, was a joke. But yeah, Green Bay was so bad, so he called it the Bay of Pigs game. He refused to put the line on or anything else. He's just like, it's the Bay of Pigs. Why would I want to watch? Why would I tell anybody to bet on this game? It's two teams, two paraplegics trying to have a pillow fight kind of thing. I mean, um, I so badly want to see Davenport break out. Have you seen Davenport's hand?
Mm,
Okay, he
I
looks
heard about it.
well. He's missing like three-quarters of his pinky, like from this point on. That's what his pinky looks like now. Okay, it's like he's like the shop guy, the shop teacher who warns you about the importance of putting the guard down before you start pushing the wood through because his hand looks like this. I mean, that's that's basically what his hand looks like right now. Carl Ganderson has had some near sacks or unofficial sacks. I have heard that, but I think Marshawn Lattimore is just Lattimore. I think it's one of those things where they just don't talk about it anymore because he's hit the point now where he's just consistently good. Um, I am hoping Ingram can surprise us. I have heard that the kid from Baylor, excuse me, the kid from Baylor is having a good camp. To me, you only judge that by what he looks like in preseason. I'm
Yeah.
not saying anything about any of the running backs until I see them in preseason. Speaking of running backs, um, Alvin Kamara's court hearing was pushed back another 60 days. On Tuesday, I'm sorry, Monday, it was supposed to happen. It's now been pushed off until the 1st of October. And this has been the second continuance on this. To me, that's great news
Yeah.
because the more this thing gets pushed, and you got to remember, the league discipline does not kick in until the case has either been settled with Kamara either pleading no contest or guilty or whatever like that, or until the legal process has run its course. Okay. So that, the more continuances, and this is the other good thing is the prosecution is the one asking for this, not the defense. Prosecution is the one who keeps asking continuances because they cannot get enough evidence outside of the videotape, corroborating evidence to justify the charges they're having against him. All they have is a videotape, which does not refute what Kamara said happened before the tape starts and you see a fight. You know, if Kamara says this guy has been harassing us, saying things about us, and these things, and they can't find anybody who can refute these things, that's why they keep asking these continuances. So, yes, it's Abram Smith is having a good camp so far, and we're only a weekend, so this is also not uncommon that guys. We talked about Bob and I talked about this last week. Who we thought was going to be that shooting star had that incredible first week of practice, and everybody else's legs start getting tired and they kind of fade from that point on. I don't. John Butler, if the Saints are 4-5 when the court case comes back around, do you tell Kamara to bite the bullet with the NFL? I still don't. I mean, if I'm Kamara, I'm fighting this. I'm fighting this as long as I can. Because if he pushes for a court date, they got to set a trial. And chances are his attorney's going to say, well, no, we're not doing a trial until after the football season's over with, so he can be there. He can't leave for a court case, a 2-week trial or a week trial during football season. So this has got to happen after the season starts. So I think the longer he fights this, the better it is for him not to get suspended. What do you think, Sean?
I agree. I've been doing a little looking up on some of the social media sites, and the feeling that Kamara may not get suspended at all is starting to pick up some steam.
Now, I really didn't want to get into this shit, but I might as well. Deshaun Watson, the suspension is going to be allegedly 6 games. This is actually kind of a genius move by Goodell, and I don't give him very much credit, but I'm going to say he is developing an incredible political cover now. He got a judge. Now, granted, this retired judge is on the NFL payroll, so this really is Goodell. But he's using this judge as a shield. So if he can play Mighty Mouse and say, you know what, if I got to decide this on my own, this is what the punishment's going to be. But this judge, female judge too, which makes it even better, decided that Watson should serve only 6 games, a 6-game suspension, because he technically was suspended all of last year because he didn't play it down for the Texans, because the Texans refused to play him. So it's time served. How do you look at this? And I've got some comments on this, but how do you look at this?
Well, that kind of logic is not even laughable.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. How are you going to justify sitting him for 6 games with what he did,
Mm-hmm.
and say that, well, he didn't get to play last year, so we feel sorry for him? No, hell no.
Yeah.
I think it's not even a good joke.
No, I agree with you on that. I don't like it at all. Now, fans on Twitter, and I'm sure people in the chat, and also people who may watch this video later, all saying things like, "Well, what you call it gets popped with weed a few times, and he gets suspended for life." Josh Gordon, um, you know, Baker, the Saints receiver, the 7th-round pick last year, got suspended 6 games for performance-enhancing drugs, steroids, or could be Adderall. Who knows? They don't tell you what drugs they are anymore. And Watson commits sexual assault. He hadn't been found guilty of anything, but he did settle cases with women. That's why these punishments are kicking in, because he did settle these cases. So he has admitted culpability. Why is this only 6 games when, Calvin Ridley suspended for a year for gambling? Things like that. They play that game. And I understand the thought process, but yeah, it just reveals the inconsistency of the NFL's discipline policies. My issue with this is, yeah, there's an inconsistent NFL discipline policy because the Players Association and the owners are too chicken shit to lay out a punishment policy for sexual assault and gun charges and violence and those kind of things. They refuse to do this. In the 70s, there was a huge cocaine problem in the NFL. Even in the 80s, there was a huge problem with performance enhancing steroids. The 63 Chargers was one of the first teams that got into steroids. They talk about that. They talk about the injections that they were taking. Suddenly, they felt faster and stronger and all these things, and they just really kicked the hell out of most of the AFL. In fact, the 63 Chargers is a team that thinks they could have beat the NFL champion, which happened to the Bears that year, could have beaten the Bears that year, and won the first league matchup as opposed to having Kansas City and Green Bay in Super Bowl I. But the point I'm getting with all this is that the league in the 70s and the 80s caught so much crap from the fans for steroids, for cocaine, for marijuana. There's a zero tolerance era. Remember Just Say No with Nancy Reagan and stuff? Zero tolerance era in sports regarding drugs and PEDs, and even carried into the late 80s, early 90s. Remember they went after Lance Armstrong for that shit in the Tour de France. That the league started putting strict and tough punishments, the 3 strikes, and these are the punishments. The first punishment maybe is a fine. Second punishment is a suspension of games. Third punishment is suspension for a year. Fourth punishment, suspension for life. I mean, Chuck Muncie in 1985, he got traded from the Chargers to the Vikings. He tried to make a comeback, couldn't even make it through the first preseason game. He got flagged again for drugs, and then he was out of the league. He had already been suspended for all of '84. So, it's just, you have to keep that history in mind when you look at the punishments they give these players. Again, going back to '63 for gambling. Paul Hornung and Alex Karras suspended for a year in '63. That's how the Bears got to be a champion that year. That was Lombardi's first attempt at a three-peat. He lost Paul Hornung all of '63 for gambling. Pete Rose is banned for life from baseball. Won't even get in the Hall of Fame because of gambling. So, you look at Calvin Ridley's punishment, you have to keep in mind Pete Rose, Paul Hornung, Alex Karras, that stuff. Even though gambling is now promoted by the league with DraftKings and all these other things. So to make a long explanation even longer, my thing is the reason why we're back to the 70s and 80s in terms of the league being behind the times and designing punishments for people convicted of sexual or charged with sexual assault, and it's frustrating because I would guarantee that most people looking at this podcast, and definitely most people on Twitter, have no memory or know nothing about Victor Kiam when he was in charge of the New England Patriots, when he owned the Patriots, and I just forgot her name. Okay, let me see if I can find him. The female reporter, Lisa Olson. There we go. And Lisa Olson. Do you remember that story?
No.
That was in 1990. She was a reporter for a Boston media company. I want to say a television station. I don't remember anymore. But anyway, she walked into the New England Patriots locker room. This is one of the reasons why they now do the interviews outside of the locker room. The players come out and address all the reporters at one time. Well, back then, the reporters all just went in the locker room and interviewed players in the front of the locker room. Half of them are naked, half of them are walking around with just a towel on. I can remember, as a kid, Archie Manning sitting in front of his locker talking. Bobby Hebert did that, that kind of stuff. Well, Lisa Olson, a Boston Herald reporter. Okay, so she was a newspaper reporter. Walked in and tried to interview Zeke Moad, who was a player, which she said it was 5 players who basically stood close to her but was naked, so his thing was touching her, that kind of thing. He was just, it was terrible. I mean, this is the kind of shit they used to do. Okay. And then they had other players seeing this and commenting, making jokes about that. And Victor Kiam, who was the owner of the Patriots at the time, when Lisa Olson came out and complained about this, was quoted as calling her a classic bitch. Okay. Again, this is 1990. The Patriots sucked. This was the terrible Patriots years. Okay. Victor Kiam got in trouble with the league. She was demanding he get suspended. This really exposed, if you pardon the expression, exposed a lot of the problems in the NFL with regards to how they handle women reporters and things like that. And she was trying to be a legitimate reporter, and this the kind of shit was going on in that locker room. So that's not to excuse the fact that here we are 32 years later and we still can't get the punishment right. But my point is there should have been a movement by the Players Association in the CBA, because they have to agree to all these punishments. Instead, that they are going to take a stand against this stuff. And if our players do this, this is how the league should treat them. And the owners should push the players for this. So instead of them punting it to the Goodell and saying, yeah, we don't want to touch this, so you take the heat. You decide these punishments. And they're all going to be inconsistent because it's all based on the whims of the commissioner. So it's frustrating as anything. And you're right. Just like many of the penalties in the NFL, they make everything as subjective as they can to control it all. And the reason why they don't want this, my opinion, is Deshaun Watson's a potential star. Okay? Let's be honest, if Quan Baker sexually harasses somebody, just one player. He's gone. The Saints cut him, and he doesn't get picked up by another team. But if you're good, if you're a star, Kareem Hunt, if you're a star, you get multiple chances. Kareem Hunt kicked a woman on video. We got it. We saw it. You know, Ray Rice, he was retired. He was on his way out the door, but he punched a woman in an elevator. And Goodell was like, "Oh, we didn't know this until we saw the video. Oh, this is serious." So yeah, that's really what I'm driving at by all of this. It's just so yeah. If you guys really want to hear all the lewd details, just look up Lisa Olson and Victor Kayam in on Google. So anyway, that's just my take on Deshaun Watson. I think it's a joke, and I think Goodell's using her so he can be the hero if he increased the punishment to a year, or he can say, "Hey, man, it wasn't me that decided this. A woman judge that decided this. I had nothing to do with it. Y'all don't like me making decisions. I'll let her make the decision." So it's just unbelievable. Was that his future wife? I don't remember if he ended up marrying
Yeah.
or not. Unbelievable. Knocked her out cold.
Yeah.
Knocked her out cold.
Toes up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Last bit for the night. I know I've been talking a lot, but I'm gonna ask you some questions, Sean.
Uh,
I know you haven't had a chance to see very much. I mean, I'm in the heart of it. You kind of, if you're like me, when I was in Lafayette, I was dying for Saints news. The internet didn't exist yet. The world was still in black and white. Dinosaurs still roamed the earth. But the only Saints news I got were like a Sheldon Mickles cartoon in the Advocate or a column in the Advocate, and that would be on Tuesdays. And then I would see some stuff on Friday. The rest of the time, I'm like trying to listen to WWL AM radio in Lafayette, all the whistles and stuff like that, trying to hear sports talk. That being said, what are you hoping to see in this first preseason game, aside from health? What are you hoping to see out of this first preseason game with the Saints?
I want to see the new faces in the new places come out and play effectively. I want to see if everything that I've heard about Chris Olave is really true.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Jameis play his snaps, and again, effectively and efficiently.
Okay, how about on defense? What are you looking to see out of defense?
Well, there again, I want to see the new players in the secondary. Of course, we discussed earlier about Matthew. I want to see them pick up where they left off last year. And I can't emphasize enough, I want to see that secondary play good, clean, and tight.
Yeah, I want to see Adebo do this against other teams. That's for sure. We're hearing a lot about these guys breaking up these passes, and I don't know if that's an indication that the Saints receivers aren't as good as they're supposed to be, or the secondary is just really that good. It's one of those things. Buddy D had put that in my head a long time ago. When you're playing against yourself, yeah, you're supposed to be elite. And there were times in the past where the Saints had terrible defenses in regular season, but in the preseason and training camp, they looked like world beaters because we didn't realize how bad the offense was. I want to see that kind of stuff. There's a lot of guys who are already missing time in camp. Pete Werner has a groin issue that he talked about that he's missed some practice. So Caden Ellis has filled in a lot, but Eric Wilson has stepped in too. So I want to see Eric Wilson, what he looks like at linebacker. Peyton Turner, who Calvin mentioned, he's come in and out of practice. He's I think he's still recovering, but I want to see Peyton Turner out there playing some. I know. I think Davenport is still on the pup list, so he has not come back yet. Um, he's done work on the side. Um, I want to see Trevor Penning against a first teamer. I want to see what he looks like out there blocking. I don't really want him blocking with Jameis yet, but I want to see him. Andy Dalton can be the pinata back there for a little while if he's struggling. But yeah, I want to see a lot of the young guys. I want to see you know um, I'm not. I want to see Michael Thomas out there for a little while, but I'm not that anxious to see him right now because I don't want a setback. Like Chris Olave, kind of. I want to see him just for a couple series and just sit your ass on the bench and wait until week one. That's when I want to see you out there playing. Same with Jarvis Landry. I don't want to see you out there either. I want to
Yeah.
see Kevin White. Kevin White has had his good days in camp and some bad days in camp. Let Kevin White go run out there and get the hell beat out of him for a little while. Kirk Merritt, who is a St. Charles Parish Destrehan kid, let's see him play out there. And I know we're not playing this weekend. Don't get me wrong. We're going to be talking about this more with Bob Rose. But I'm bringing all these names up because I think that's really what preseason should focus more on. We get so hungry for football. You put on the Hall of Fame game in 5 seconds, or maybe after the first couple of series, you realize, yeah, this ain't real football. This is a dress rehearsal. This is terrible football. This is boring football, bad football. But you're so desperate. You're willing to watch. I don't even know who's playing in the Hall of Fame.
Jacksonville and Las Vegas.
Okay. But you're willing to sit through, say, a Jacksonville Jets game because you think, my God, I'm just that desperate for football. But last thing, the Saints signed a tight end today. Taysom Hill took a shot to the ribs with unpadded practice. They were wearing shorts and shells, and he got hit in the ribs. Yeah, John, I'll talk about this again in a minute. John's really been pushing this, and I'm gonna talk about him in a minute. Um, but no, I think you still will. I think you'll see some of the main starters out there. You're going to see Winston out there for a series. You're going to see Alvin come out there for probably for a series. They've got to get some work in there. They really do, but you won't see him very long. The longest you'll see him is probably week 2. But I lost my train of thought now. What was I getting ready to say? What was I just talking about right before I mentioned that?
Sam Mills?
What? No, before Sam Mills. You weren't even listening to me.
Yes, I was. you were talking about who would and who would see time and what kind of.
Yeah, but there was a point I wanted to make. Oh yeah, we signed it. We signed a tight end. That's what I was talking about. We signed a tight end. He is. Hang on here. He was with the Jets. I do know that.
And the Vikings.
Yes, he was a 4th round pick in 2018. Because Taysom Hill took a shot to the ribs and he hasn't played since. Brandon Dillon is his name. No, wait, that's not it. That's not the guy they signed. Chris Herton. Thank you.
Herndon.
They for some reason an old story popped up on the top. Yes, Chris Herton, former Vikings and Jets tight end. He did okay his first year as a rookie with the Jets. He had 39 receptions on 56 targets for 502 receiving yards and 4 touchdown passes. I don't know. I honestly don't. I'm not expecting much out of this guy. He's a camp body who's probably fighting for the to beat out Nick Vannett, and he may be doing reps because Taysom Hill is hurt. And I think the Saints would feel really good if he could be a 4th or a 3rd tight end, and then just have Taysom Hill come in on some pass formations. But Taysom Hill's not a primary tight end. This is again how preseason is an illusion. Guess who had a great week so far in practice? Speaking of tight ends, catching everything.
Uh-oh.
Who would surprise you?
The one that Bob loves so much.
No. Well, Crawl has done some stuff, but Adam Trautman is catching everything and looking good. Yeah. It's yeah. So again, preseason illusion. What does that say? Does that mean Trautman has turned the corner, or does it mean our defense doesn't look very good right now? That we'll see what happens when the real thing going. I mean, last year this time they had Adam Trautman breaking all Jimmy Graham's records and going to the Saints Hall of Fame. Trautman has some good practices, and Cameron Brate. There was a connection. Cameron Brate and Jameis Winston. Winston likes to throw to the tight ends and stuff, but we're a long, long ways from that kind of talk.
Yeah.
I just I'm not even going there. This guy right now is a camp body playing because Taysom Hill has been injured, and Taysom's probably going to take some time off to heal up his ribs because he took a shot to the ribs. And if this guy looks halfway decent in camp, he could probably push Nick Vannett out to make it as a third tight end with Juwan Johnson and Adam Trautman. I haven't heard Juwan Johnson's name much at all in camp, honestly. So that's the first week of camp. Who knows next week? All the stars we've been talking about probably will not be aligned for next week. Next week, you're going to start seeing the dead legs by. They don't do 2-a-days anymore like they used to, but by the 10th practice, guys aren't too crisp out there anymore. You start seeing a lot of drop passes, a lot of slow, sloppy practices. Jim Moore used to go on those rants about, by about the second week of camp. Go look up the one where he's talking about Tommy Stowers. That's the classic. I love that. Stowers. I'll tell you how good Stowers is. The Chiefs cut him before he came to camp, and the Saints picked him up. He was a star today for the Saints. Tells you something, doesn't it? I can still hear Jim Moore going off about that. And that team won 12 games. That's what was fun. That was a 92 preseason, and he's ranting about that. That team went on to win 12 games, but you listen to Jim Moore in that press conference, that team looked like shit. It was perfect. That was the famous horse shit ball carrier. And when you talk about, Ironhead fumbles the ball, blew out Spencer Tillman's knee, and the whole bit. Buford Jordan, I think, put the ball on the ground. That's when he really were horse shit ball carrying. I was like, tell you that, horse shit. Jim Moore was the man who was built for the internet, and he came just before the internet. I've seen a lot of people mad. Did you hear this? Quan Alexander signed with the Jets.
Yes, I heard that. 1-year deal.
Yeah, 1-year deal. I think definitely the Saints' attitude was, well, if you come back with us, you're going to be a backup player. And I also believe that the Saints felt like we want to let a player leave a year too early than too late. The Jets, him going back to the Jets, he's going back to his old 49ers defensive coordinator as the head coach. I just don't think that he will have the kind of success with the Jets that he had with New Orleans. Let's just leave it at that.
Agree.
I think he is. He's on borrowed time now. That Achilles injury that he recovered from, which is a miracle that he played as well as he did. I just don't. I think the Saints are looking at him going, "Yeah, you used up all your good luck on that one." you're probably not going to be that lucky next year. You're probably going to get hurt early, because your body's going to start breaking down. I could be wrong. But that's my gut feeling on that. Like Indiana Jones said, it's not the years, it's the mileage.
Yep.
Last question, and I'll ask you this. I wanted to talk about the other teams, but we just didn't get a chance to. We're probably going to end up doing like a quick review of the NFC South come after the last preseason game, or the week of the last preseason game before the only cuts, because there's only one cut down again this year, and that's after the last preseason game. Yeah, we did, Calvin. I'm sorry. We did talk about Trevor Penning. We talked about the fighting and stuff like that. And basically, both of us feel like, Trevor's just really trying to make a name for himself. He's trying to prove himself, and he wants to play to the echo of the whistle. But do you see a surprise team in the NFC this year? The NFC doesn't look very good, but do you see a surprise team, a team that probably has been down and out, and this will be the first year they make a big comeback? Just based on what you've heard out of camp so far, and that might not be much of anything. I mean, I haven't heard much, but is there a team that you think, that's somebody who could really make a move this year?
I can't think of anyone right off the top of my head. I'm obviously I'm hopeful that it would be us, but I do know of a team that I think will take a step back.
Who's that?
Green Bay.
Okay. Well, that's where I'm going with this. Okay, so Green Bay takes a step back because Aaron Rodgers is now going to be playing with Saints 2021 level receivers. If Green Bay takes a step back, who do you see is taking a step up in that division then? You got the Vikings, you got the Bears, you got the Lions. Because actually that's where my surprise team is.
The Vikings.
Really? You think the Vikings will make that step forward?
I don't believe in the Bears or the Lions.
I don't believe in the Bears. I don't believe in the Bears at all. Because I don't believe in Justin Fields. I know that's forbidden to talk that way about the league right now, but I don't believe in them at all. And the reason why I don't believe in them, Justin Fields, is because I think first off, he's an Ohio State quarterback, and Ohio State quarterbacks have a hell of a legacy. It's like Alabama quarterbacks now. They got a hell of an obstacle they have to overcome to become successful in the NFL. But I just don't think he's getting the coaching he needs to be a great team. And yeah, I'm that guy. I feel this way, and it's probably because I am seeing too much about it. I think it is going to be the Lions to take that surprise leap. I'm not saying they're talented enough to advance in the playoffs, even make the playoffs, because I still think the Packers can beat them. I still think the Vikings can beat them. But I think you've got a great coach with the Lions. The former Saints tight end coach Campbell, okay, and offensive line coach Campbell. You have a team that believes in Campbell. Jared Goff is not a starter. He's a caretaker. He's a journeyman quarterback right now. But I think they have enough pieces with a good head coach that they can find a way to win 8 or 9 games this year. And that's what I mean by a surprise team. Instead of them being the usual basement dwellers, check the win off the box because you see them on the schedule team that they have been, since Barry Sanders retired. I mean, really. 2011 and 2012 and 2009, the Lions were pretty good. Actually, 2011, with Megatron, but I'm just saying, for most of that existence, they were the 0-16 team. They did it 0-16 twice. I think they were the first team to ever do that twice. But
I think so.
basically, they were the check the box as an easy win. You know, I just, yeah, I forgot about that. He did play at Georgia. I just don't buy the hype. I really don't see the hype about Justin Fields. I don't see, he really needs great coaching, and Nagy was not a great coach. You have to prove it to me, because right now you're nothing more than any other running quarterback I've seen out there play 100 times now. I just don't see the elite talent yet. He needs a lot of work. You know, Jameson Williams, I saw a story today, though. Unfortunately, Jameson Williams may be on the PUP list or the NFLI or NFI list, into November. I don't know how true that is. I think he comes back sooner than that. But, I just think I like some of the pieces that the Lions have put together. I think they put together a pretty good draft. They got some stuff. So, yeah. Yeah. So you're right. Who's he throwing the ball to? Who's protecting him? Who's this offense? Where's this offensive line coming from? What's this defense that's going to keep him from having to throw the ball 100 times and getting the crap beat out of him? That's just it. I don't see it. I think the Bears are a long way away from contending. So that's really my surprise team. I think the Lions have a good shot of doing something. Because I think the Falcons are competing for the number 1 overall pick next year. I think Carolina, they're probably going to be the biggest challenge to us, more so than Tampa, just because you saw the Tampa offensive lineman getting hurt. Trey Wirfs, I think he got carted off of cramps, but he still got carted off the field. They lost somebody else, and I think Tom Brady's old. I just going to the playoffs multiple years and trying to advance in the playoffs multiple years, that wears on a team. And they've got a new coach who loves to blitz and is probably a better coordinator as a head coach. I just don't see much out of Tampa. I think Tampa is going to be the one everybody's going to pick to win the division.
Of course.
Because they just so badly. I mean, they've done it every year. Brady's been there, and he's only done it one time. And he still has not beaten the Saints in the regular season. I just don't. That's what I started the show with, talking about that. I don't know if he is or not. And like I said, I can see him doing it not because he's physically ready to give it up. I think it's something that serious with his family. Oh, yeah, it's fake. Yeah, it probably is. But yeah, I think it will be. I think Malcolm Jenkins talked about this in the Rich Eisen show. And this is the last comment we'll have for the night. But Malcolm Jenkins talked about it in the Rick Eisen show. They asked, "Why are you Tom Brady's kryptonite?" And he said, "Listen, Tom Brady is all about matchups. Okay, where are his matchups when he plays the Saints? Mike Evans on Lattimore. That's Lattimore." He says, this is Malcolm Jenkins talking. Jenkins says, "Me on Gronk. I got that matchup. Adebo against Godwin. I like that matchup. Adebo can handle Godwin. And then you got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson going against AB or whomever. Scott, the little, I can't think of his last name, but the little receiver. So he's got no matchups. He has no favorable matchups that he can win. So he ends up holding the ball longer, waiting for these guys to get open. He can't just throw them open. He said the game they won, they were able to run the football. If they can't run the football and Brady's got to throw it and trying to find a matchup, he's not going to win. He can't win that." He says, I don't agree with Jenkins when he says this. I think they built this defense to stop Atlanta personally and the Packers and teams that like to throw the ball. But they built this defense to stop a passing game, and they already shut down the run. So it's a terrible matchup for Brady. So he said they won the playoff game because we turned the ball over and they could run the ball. When they can't run the ball and we don't turn the ball over, we win the turnover battle. Bucks have no chance. They will never win a game like that. They can't do that. Either of those things. So, yeah. I would love it. Brady's 11 crack ribs with me in 0-5 against the Saints. I would love it. Yeah, Scotty Miller. Thank you. Thank you, Scotty Miller. I couldn't think of his name. But yeah, and that's why he ends up playing the way he plays. So, Sean.
Yes, sir.
Metal horns at the end. Always has the metal horns at the end of the show. Got to know your favorite bands.
Geez, there's so many of them.
Sean, by the way, Jimmy was a bass player in a rock band.
Yes, I was, and lead singer.
Yeah.
I like Motley Crue, Poison, Bon Jovi, Rat, Dokken. So many of them.
That reminds me, I got to send a mashup to you. It's Dio and Rick James. Rick James is singing Mary Jane to the rhythm of what the hell was that Dio song? God, I can't believe I can't think of it. Hang on a second here. It's Bill McClintock on YouTube, but let me see.
I saw one not too long ago. It was a mashup of Michael Jackson and Iron Maiden.
Yeah. Holy Mary Jane, he called it. So it was
Holy Diver.
Holy Diver. Yeah. And Dio even sings along with him. And they slow Mary Jane just enough so it matches the rhythm. And the comments are like, soul metal is a real thing. So there you go. So yeah. So I played that for my friends while we were in Panama City because it was our guys' weekend. I said, dude, I'm hooked on these mashups, and if they're really good, really well done. So it's fun, and it goes back to all songs being basically 4 chords. So the same 4 chords, just you change the pace. You ever saw the song How to Do the video of how to do a AC/DC song?
No.
You can do an AC/DC. You could write your own AC/DC song in 3 steps. You need a rhythm, and they got this guy hitting the thing. And he says, then you play 3 chords on your guitar, and he named them like A, C, and G. And then you get a Marge Simpson sounding voice. And it's hilarious because it's like there's a dog in the road, and they play it. And it sounds like a damn AC/DC song, and AC/DC fans are commenting, going, I kind of want to hear this song now. There's a dog in the road. So, anyway.
Angus Young said that they've recorded the same album every time, just different lyrics.
They've been recording Back in Black for the past 30, 40 years.
Yeah. And it still works.
Hey, people still buy it, so that's when you know you are. Anyway, okay, so that's first week of training camp in the books. We'll have Hall of Fame game talk about Sam Mills. I didn't talk about it because we kind of got sidetracked a little bit. Sam Mills, Saints player, goes in the Hall of Fame. The NFL Hall of Fame, you don't go in as anybody. You just go in as a player because it's a bust of you. And you're listed as your teams. This is yet another player who played the majority of his career with the Saints in the NFL Hall of Fame, unlike in the past where you had guys like Doug Atkins and Jimmy Taylor who were, NFL Hall of Fame players who really made their career with another franchise. So this is really, again, this is the shift that when Tom Benson bought this team, he started seeing more and more Hall of Fame players come to this organization, start out here, and become great players here. So it's a good day for a Saints fan, So don't worry about the Carolina footage they'll show. Remember, in your hearts, 51 was a Saint first. So
That's right.
Razor's Edge is Chad's favorite album of AC/DC. Back in Black is mine, but I was in high school when that album came out, so that was huge. That was huge. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us tonight. As always, appreciate all the new people. Ryan, new guy, appreciate you chiming in. Anna wasn't here tonight. She'll enjoy hearing the rock concert talk afterwards. So, anyway, thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.